Hi, everybody. For this episode of Retention Zone, I'm happy to be joined from San Diego, California, from Kanaan Jemili. Hi, Kanaan. We met
Hi, Carlo.
many years ago,
That's correct.
in
That's correct.
streaming at at NAB or IBC? At NAB, I guess. I
It was
don't
an
remember.
AB, correct. First
Yeah,
time,
yeah, in
many years
Vegas.
ago.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
maybe 7, 8 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think it's interesting to briefly start from your career because you've done a lot in streaming. So it gives context to this episode, I would say.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Kanaan Jemili. I'm actually coming to you from San Diego here. So yeah, we started in the video space really at beginning. Was a company called DivX here in San Diego. Was a pioneer in video. We did a lot of work on HD, on 4K, and all those fun things. Um, and then we actually the company was merged with Neulion, which is a public company in New York, where it was all about streaming at that time, and we had also streaming solution. And Neulion was very ingrained into the sports and media streaming world with large brands. The big brands was at that time was the NHL, the NBA, UFC, ESPN Europe, and several other.
One of my biggest competitor at the time.
That's right. And of course, Delta Trey was out there, and it was doing great things at the top level at the Olympics and FIFA and so forth.
Yeah,
And that was
yeah,
kind of was the big company in Europe, and also in the US at that time.
yeah.
So at that time, I think the streaming world has started to become more ingrained. It was the broad, was we start seeing numbers that are larger, both on. We did for instance, the FIFA World Cup streaming, where we had, at that time 1.4 million concurrents, right? And so the numbers were still small compared to now, but back then things have started kind of scaling, I would say, both on the pay-per-view subscription, and what was clear was that it's a worldwide phenomenon. When you broadcast one thing in one country, but when you stream, it was really sometimes streaming in 180
Globally.
countries, 160 countries. So
How was the initial focus? I think was about making the video work. When you felt that the focus went on, okay, it's more than that. We need to make money. We need to have subscribers. We need to have multiple business model. If you remember, when was I think as you matured, that's where your attention moves to, I guess.
that's correct. I think the brands were kind of seeing some the number of subscribers, the audience was there, and there was some monetization going on, but they were testing with. We were kind of every brand wanted to expand, so retaining those users and also expanding that audience was always they became the theme, especially on the revenue side. As I think it coincides a little bit with 2018, 2020, kind of area where the broadcast kind of rights and so forth becoming there's more pressure. So everybody was looking to how do we make more money in digital, right? So in streaming, I would say in the 5 years leading to 2020, where things have shifted in terms of retention, churn, and expanding. What other products can we sell? And one of the main themes was the content composition itself. Used to be live only, became live VOD. Then we episodic content. So there kind of the offer itself started to kind of morph into more than just the live aspect of streaming.
And in terms of business model, I think now we have a lot of platforms that have a combination, right? There is SVOD with AVOD injected, maybe a bit of free, etc., etc.
That's
What do you
correct.
think are the business model that are reigning today, and
That's
what's
right.
happening in the future?
The business model has started with a pure pay-per-view or a pure subscription or a pure kind of advertising only, and I think the last 5 years we've seen a shift into combining those in a way that allows people to, especially with the users, to come in maybe free with ads, then move to subscription, and then move to pay-per-view. But the idea became, and as we see, we look at it today, it's called, it's a hybrid monetization. You have to have all the monetization aspects there, but you kind of mix them in a way that's natural to the user journey. They come in to test, maybe, and then you kind of take the steps to move towards subscription, and then and then with that subscription, then you have a base to apply some pay-per-view aspects. We also have seen the last few years, I think the last recent years, we've seen also sponsorships coming in into these into these properties, where it's not just advertising from a kind of a advertising server, but now you have a brand that's kind of sponsoring the property, and you want to make sure that it's prominently displayed, whether it's pre-roll, mid-roll, or other ways into the stream or on around the stream.
And in terms of, you mentioned before servicing a global audience. What are the complexity in this world of streaming with all the subscription, etc., of servicing a global audience? What are the biggest challenges in your view, in your mind?
So, as you know very well, with the large brands, there's usually it's the concurrency, concurrent streams, and so forth. And but I think as the world has shifted more towards hybrid in terms of broadcast and streaming, a lot of the sports brands, they do have rights that are sold in certain territories, and sometimes it's really dynamic. It's very last minute where the deal is struck with a broadcaster in this country or this continent, and so now you have the issue of just streaming capacity, and making sure that the quality is high, and all those great things. But now it comes in the geo kind of selection of where the stream should look like. And then at the same time, there's a lot of security issues also, because if you're blocking a certain territory, then the risk of piracy and so forth gets higher. So now you have to apply security on top of that. So there's a new thing. These are not new issues, but they are kind of, as the broadcast is not the only way, and streaming is not the only way. It's not the only way yet. You have this mix of, you have to make sure that they can both survive, but that comes with some challenges around geo blocking, around security, but the main thing is still, the one thing that people talk about a lot is the quality. Like we saw with the Tyson and Jake Paul. You watch it, but the only thing people talk about is I didn't get, there's some noise that people didn't watch it very well. So that's still the top of mind. One thing, make sure that everyone who comes on the platform to stream, they're able to log in and to watch the stream. I think that's still, and it's much better now. I think obviously the cloud has improved a lot. The tools have improved a lot in terms of monitoring, in terms of dual and triple, kind of CDN coverage in certain areas. So that's all improving, but it's still work in progress.
And in terms of the direct-to-consumer marketing aspects, if you have to market to a global audience, that's very complex, I think. Do you have any experience in that from friends that you work with?
Yeah, as you just said, Carlo, I think that's a very still a complex issue. I think one of the major aspect of D2C is just marketing. You have to, especially if you don't, if it's one of the big sports it's if it's a FIFA World Cup or something like that, okay, of course you're gonna get a lot of noise everywhere, a lot of good marketing and media and so forth. But if it's we have lesser brand, then you need to make sure that you understand at least regionally how to manage the marketing. Whether it's sometimes you have to go to back to broadcast to really manage manage the marketing of this. Um, I think with social media things are a lot better now. I think social media has really opened up the many new ways of doing marketing, especially for the very popular sports, the top 6, 7, 8 sports that you can still do a lot of social media on a low budget. um, but you have to have that going. You do the clipping, you do the teams or the athletes themselves. So you have to kind of have a really meaningful way of market that event way sometime before the event happens. And there's social media is maybe the only thing that's kind of global, really, frankly, at this
Mm.
point, where you don't need rights to say, hey, there's a game coming up in any country. Maybe you'll have some rights around clips and some content, but social media is a very efficient way today. We see it.
And in terms of the complexity of the payments and all the stuff that nobody normally want to talk about, but I think taxes, the
Yeah,
payments,
fulfillment.
uh, but then you have to do customer service. How much do you think this area has grown through the years? And where are we? Are we at with decent solution or?
Um, I believe that's an when you want to be global with an event, and it's multiple currencies, multiple languages, and now taxes and regulations. Obviously, there's companies who are really specialized on that, and some really good ones out there. And it's even for them, it's work in progress because they cover what they cover, and then if you say, I have, there's a audience in this territory, they still have to go, okay, I'll get back to you on that, and they'll
Yeah,
work
yeah, yeah.
those out. But what we've seen also is that I think that's not that work hasn't been done yet, but few companies have done really big progress in that area, and it shows. I mean, you know them, and we all know them. Um, but I think what's missing now is a way to make that process kind of be available to a wider range of customers, not just the big guys, because the big guys can always afford, to kind of use some of these big tools. But I think the way is to make it available to more brands, more D2C customers. That's where we put a lot of effort into that, to make sure that the tier 1.5, or those guys who are not the big brand, they could still kind of have access to some of those tools. And I think that's the piece that we see opportunity there, and I think we see more focus. Of course, there's always, the you can help them monetize, but also you need to get paid as well. So there's a little bit of economic challenges around those areas. Yeah.
And why do you think people? Why are we talking so much about churn? Why do you think people churn? Too much offer, not enough demand, or what's going on?
Yeah. So churn is, I mean, as you know very well, and it's a complex issue, right? It's one thing is, there's the Olympics came on, I sign up for this service, Olympics are gone, I don't need to, would I be coming back in 4 years, or who knows, right? It's kind of one of those things. But I think the main one of the there's three things I think that are very related to churn that are kind of important, and well, I guess talked about all the time, as you know. Um, you know, people want to sign up for because there's passion around a certain sport or a certain team, certain content, and so forth. And your point is, to your point, if I sign up and I don't see anything from that service that's gonna attracts me more and pulls me in, I don't get notifications, I don't get anything. I think people tend to drift away. So you have to keep it interesting. The second thing I think is the fact that on the subscription side in general, I mean, there's just fatigue, right? The subscription fatigue. There's a lot of issues. So to be able to differentiate and find that subscriber who's really, kind of they see value in that service, I think you need to figure out that what makes them come to that service and what makes them stay. If they're a curling fan and they like curling, you gotta feed them curling. You can say, hey, by the way, there's pickleball or something else, right? You have to kind of, you have to identify kind of the user, what they really like, what they get excited about. And you have, there's a lot of tools that also today that are built and we deployed that measure this engagement. I mean, you have to measure engagement. Sometimes, in a lot of cases, some streamers they say, don't poke the bear. If they're subscribers and they're not doing anything, just don't tell them. But I think that eventually becomes churn because
that's short-sighted. Yeah.
So you need to make sure that you're measuring this engagement on a periodic basis, and if they're not engaged, you have to figure out why. Because eventually they'll wake up one day and I don't need this service. I'm not using it. So I think
I just did a cleanup in my before Christmas. I said, why am I paying for 26 subscription services
who's
between streaming and AI? So
exactly.
I just did it. So I can
that's
relate.
kind of it's good to measure the engagement and then do something about it. Like, hey, you haven't been on the service for 2 months. Here's what's coming up, or you missed this, or whatever. I mean, I think the third aspect of churn is the fact that with most of the streamers, the rates that are being paid are higher. Okay, we know that the whole world is getting more expensive. Okay, that's for sure. But you have to kind of also figure out is doubling the fees on a subscriber. What's that going to do? You have to study that, and we see a lot of examples where people kind of they raise the rates and then the churn becomes a problem. Then they have to lower the rates. So I think there's a little bit of there's no methodology today that I see kind of standard in kind of managing the pricing of these D2C services. It's just you wake up one day and it's $39.99, it's $14.99. It's like, what is the method here? I thought it's going to get cheaper because there's more people watching, but of course these streamers have financial reality that they're facing. So I think that's the thing that's still a little bit of unpredictable in the market, like how this pricing is set. That is having, I think, an impact on churn.
And on the other hand, do you think, because we have the impression, and I think it's stronger in the US than in Europe, to be honest, because in Europe, I think that, I don't know, the rights have not exceeded expectation in this round in the last year. The US, I think they're doing well. Is sport like an anti-churn medicine per se? Especially in this big aggregation of media and big tech, etc.
I think, as you know, sports is the most. There's more passion around it, but more attraction. And in sports, we see it in all kinds of. We see it in bundles, we see it in aggregation, we see it in D2C, we see it on broadcast. So it is everywhere, and I think it's for as an entertainment value, I think it's the most entertaining, exciting. Of course, people, you go watch the movies at the theater, you go to the concert, but also you want to watch a game at the stadium. But most people can't go to stadiums because it's too far. But I think the value of sports is almost not just the same and permanent, but it's increasing all the time. Because so I think as you start very young, you like football, but I don't think that passion goes away. I think it kind of increases, and you're kind of, oh, I'm gonna go to the city to watch my game. So I think the passion around that is increasing. And then today, the access to sports has gone through a transformation. I mean, anywhere in the world, even in the US, you can have access to many sports, and then there are even new sports that are coming up. Right? There's new emerging sports, whether it's um, the new format of football or the pickleball, or there's all these new things happening. So if you're I think it's recruiting more and more fans, I would say, and that actually basically it's reinforcing the value of sports in media. It's reinforcing it rather than, because they see the sports are actually expanding. So if you're spending money on these rights, now there's more people coming in because there's more there's just have more audience. But it's also in the US, very well. I mean, to watch this particular college football game, you have to go to a certain channel on a certain day. And by the way, the next game is not on that channel; it's on another channel. So you have to keep switching
It's
around.
very complex.
Exactly, it's complex for a user. And it's because everybody's using sports as the way to to get people to subscribe, to get people to spend more time on the streamers. But I feel like we've been in this, I guess, on the business of sports for some time, and looking at it, it's only increasing in value and it's increasing in activity, right? Because one of the things we see, like you watch the Olympics, but then you go away. But now, I mean, we work with we work with some federations. Now you can watch, your athletics, or your curling, or your any volleyball throughout the year. You can watch the same athletes that were in the last Olympics with the new services that are coming up, and that's for me, that's really exciting. Because before it used to be, it's one event and it's gone. Now it's one event and there's more.
Yeah, that's true. And one last question: Will you watch the NFL games at Christmas?
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely. That's a
But
tradition that yeah.
sorry, with a techie mindset to see if the streams works, or because you love the NFL?
Well, I have of course, I watch my favorite teams, or team at least, but always with an eye on tech, because it evolves every year, especially with low latency and with different devices at the house. And that's been a tradition now for many years, where we're always watching. And I mean, I'm the geek in the house, so I have to do my thing. And as you watch the game, and there's always something new that we detect, because we're close to, we're kind of looking for
It's true.
those more things.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Kanaan, and have great holidays in few weeks.
You too,
Thank you for
Carlo.
doing
Have a
this.
great holidays, and happy New Year to you and the family, and to all your viewers.
Okay, thank you, Kanaan. Bye bye.
Okay. Bye bye. Thank you.